Hello everyone, welcome to the Melancholy Coaching Podcast. I'm Fran, your host and NLP Coach. Join me as I interview inspiring business owners and self-improvement seekers about their experiences whilst delving into personal development, motivation and strategies for overcoming challenges. Let's ignite our creative potential together. Hello and welcome to the Melancholy Coaching Podcast. I'm Fran, your NLP coach, and I'm proud to introduce an inspiring guest to the show. As many of you know, ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. Adam from ADHD or Life is a couple's perspective. So it's ADHD or Life, a couple's perspective. He's currently navigating his own ADHD diagnosis, and together with Donna, his partner, they share their honest experience of living with ADHD in a relationship. So Donna brings the perspective of a neurotypical partner, offering insights into what it's like to support and navigate life alongside somebody with ADHD. Their story is full of real-life challenges, funny moments, and heartfelt conversations about the messy, beautiful realities of neurodiverse relationships. They're passionate about breaking down stigma, sharing practical strategies, and having open, unfiltered discussions about what it's really like to manage ADHD in a partnership. And today we've got Adam on the show.
Hi, Fran.
Hello, Adam. It's an honour to have you here.
Oh, what an introduction. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Because I'm absolutely fascinated because I've listened to some of your podcast episodes and I decided to start from what I could find at the beginning and I'm going to work my way through them.
Yeah, nice.
So thank you for joining me on my podcast. The way that I do this is I'll ask you a couple of questions. We'll have a little conversation around it and just find out a bit more about you, if that's okay with you.
Sounds great.
Okay, so the first question I've got for you is, what has been the most surprising or unexpected thing you've learned about yourself since navigating ADHD?
That's really interesting. That's a good question. The whole thing has been very surprising. The ADHD thing was a massive surprise. That's been the biggest surprise, I think, learning that I just had ADHD, which came through my son being diagnosed.
Okay.
I never knew anything about ADHD, and neither did Donna. And we were looking at the questionnaire for my son, and I thought, oh, I might have this. And then we were laughing about it until the end of the questionnaire. And I'm like, I've got ADHD. And it just explained so much. It was such an eye opener about a lot of behaviors that I've had throughout my life. And the whole thing was a massive surprise.
So what kind of timeline is that? So how long ago were you looking at this form for your son?
This was around 2 years ago.
Right, okay. Has your son since been diagnosed with ADHD?
Yes, so he was diagnosed round about that time.
Okay. So are you still going through the process of finding out about your own diagnosis?
I've just been diagnosed around 4 weeks ago officially.
Yeah, it's quite a long, in-depth process, isn't it?
It really is. So that's been, as soon as I found out, I started the process and put my name on a waiting list, and that was a year. I never heard anything back. So then went through another process and managed to get it within about 6 months, but it's still ongoing just now. So I was diagnosed 4 weeks ago, and now it's still a waiting game to see what happens next. It's very, very long.
Do you know, just out of interest, the actual diagnosis that you've got? Because there's ADHD, there's ADD, and I think there's another one. There's sort of 3 different types, I think, of ADHD, isn't there?
Yes, there is the inattentive type, which I have. So where you struggle with focus and things, or, well, I don't know if you struggle with focus, because if it's something you enjoy, you really focus on it. So it's a weird one. There's also the restlessness type, which it says I had traits of, but the focus side was, the inattentive side was the one that I struggled with.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, that by ADHD it's there's kind of different parts of it. and
Yeah.
some may affect people more than others.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also a lot of kind of almost stereotypical views of ADHD, and that, oh, a bit bonkers and a bit forgetful, and
It's the
it's not
schoolboy jumping about the
exactly that though,
classroom.
is it? It's not
No.
exactly that. It can be
Mm-mm.
actually quite debilitating.
Yeah,
Um,
big time. I always thought that ADHD was the naughty boy jumping about the back of the classroom. And that was never me, so it never entered my mind. Same with my son, he wasn't naughty, so I thought, if I'm honest, a couple of years ago, I don't think it existed. I don't think I believed it existed.
yeah,
I was skeptical, the same as everybody probably my age is. And when you actually go into it, there's so many symptoms that you would never think are associated, but it's so interesting and it explains so much. As you
yeah,
say, it can be very debilitating and it
it
can
can
lead
be.
to. I was diagnosed with depression years ago,
Mm.
and I don't think I was ever depressed. I think it was all parts of ADHD that, like burnout and things. So I think I was misdiagnosed years ago.
I see. I've navigated life with depression, and it's part of what I've spoke on in earlier podcast episodes of mine.
Uh-huh.
In that I feel like I've had generational depression, so it's just always been there. It's been very. I've been in a psych ward. I've kind of refused meds, and it's just been a very, very long process. And during the beginning of I'm going to mention the pandemic.
Yeah.
So during the beginning of the pandemic, I had absolutely crippling depression and reached out for help, and just constantly kept reaching out for help. And they sent me to online CBT, I think it was, like cognitive behavioral therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't particularly do anything for me. No judgment for those who use it, and it does work. It just didn't really do anything for me. And the therapist actually said to me, I think that you may have ADHD. You need to go back to the doctor. We cannot get any of these sessions out of you. You're not focusing, and you're so easily distracted. And I went to my GP, and I don't know why this is funny. I went to my GP, who then said the waiting list to see a diagnosing sort of psychiatrist or psychotherapist about this is too long. It's not worth it. And at
Wow.
your age, why would you want to know now? And I said, because I've suffered from crippling depression, and it will help me to understand my identity as a
Yeah.
person, as a human being. I'm not just looking for a label as such. I'm looking to understand myself so that I can access the world in the best way possible. I then said, but I'm worried about medication, and I would need somebody to talk to me about it. And the GP actually said, if you're not interested in medication, it's definitely not worth putting you on the list. So I thought, do you know what?
Oh,
I'm just gonna carry on my merry way.
it is shocking, isn't it? It's
And
very
that's what
shocking.
actually led me to retrain as a neurolinguistic programming coach, because I was so desperate to understand my mind and understand the way that I could access the world. So I've gone down a different path with it. Whether or not I have ADHD, who knows? Who
This
knows
is
whether I've
it,
got
yeah.
ADD or ADHD? Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But I've had depression for many years, so I can understand that. But then
Mm-hmm.
some things overlap slightly, don't they? So within
Yeah.
my depression, I've often wondered whether it was childhood trauma. I was bullied at school, I was very quiet, or whether there was something else there that was missed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting when you get into it and try and get to the bottom of things. It's just a whole rabbit hole that I'm still in just now. It's been going on for 2 years.
Yeah. So I should imagine that if you're in a safe place with environmentally and with your mind, and you can reflect on the past or reflect on when you was at school, can you now see why some things were the way they were?
So this surprised me majorly during the assessment. I was ready for the questions, but the way he asked them got something new out of me that I wasn't expecting, and it made me look different at how I was at school.
Yeah.
And like I say, I was never naughty. I was always good. I always done relatively well in school. And but then when I was thinking about homework was never done. Homework was done on the bus on the way to school. The people pleasing, always trying to please people that were in authority, and it all kind of fell into place as he was speaking and as I was speaking. It kind of all fit together. That was fascinating.
So when it was interesting to me when you said that prior to a couple of years ago, you wouldn't have necessarily have believed that it was a real thing. And that's possibly just because it hadn't kind of featured in your world at all, or you
Yeah,
didn't know
that's it.
anybody with it.
Yeah.
And possibly it's a new thing. Now, I first encountered ADHD, it was probably about 1984. And at
Right.
that time, I was childminding, and I childminded a little child that had a lot of challenges, and he ended up being diagnosed with ADHD.
Uh-huh.
And around that time, around the early and mid 90s, there was a lot of there were, I can't think what to call it, but there were studies. That's the word.
Yeah,
There we
yeah,
go. It's gone.
yeah.
there was there were studies into what was causing children to be inattentive or children to be withdrawn, and some of it was around kind of numbers in foods and in juices and drinks,
Hmm.
and it was thought that if you went more clean, that it would help, and that possibly ADHD was just more of an American thing that had seeped over here, and they were putting the children on things like, I think it was Ritalin or something,
Yeah.
and
Uh-huh.
that, you know, was it really a thing? And
Hmm.
there was a lot of studies done into preservatives, and especially certain types of numbers. I remember my daughters drinking things like Sunny D and stuff like that, that were not only laced with a lot of sugar, but no
Yeah,
doubt,
I was
had a lot of
thinking about that as
numbers
you
in
were
there.
speaking, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, so that would have caused them to be quite hyperactive, and that would still work now. The sugars and things that are in our children's foods or in our foods in general can add to like those spikes in, you know, energy, and then
Yeah.
the kind of crash down from that.
Hmm.
Um, that in itself doesn't mean you've got ADHD, but potentially people with ADHD or with ADD, they would have some of those symptoms anyway, of that extreme hyperfocus, and then they were completely exhausted without it being anything to do with preservatives in food or any environmental factors.
Yeah, I completely agree. I notice, especially through diet, it can be somewhat controlled through diet.
Yeah,
If you like stay off of sugar, for example, sugar really it emphasizes all the symptoms. So if you can cut back on sugar, it definitely helps control it. But what you have with ADHD is the impulsivity. So I can say I'll stay back from sugar, and then 10 o'clock at night, I'm ramming a packet of biscuits in my face because
yeah,
it's the impulsive, and you need the dopamine, I suppose. So it's trying to get the balance right, which can seem impossible.
yeah. And that
What?
can happen with kind of scrolling on phones or looking at media and things like that. It's those little dopamine hits, isn't it?
Yeah, dopamine comes up. I don't understand the science fully behind it. I know that we use the word dopamine a lot. We talk about it in every episode because everything seems to be associated with dopamine. And I've lost what I was going to say, sorry, but it is, you can chase it in many different ways through, as you say, scrolling.
Yeah.
And yeah,
So part of your recent diagnosis is understanding why potentially that's a thing for you, or why that has happened. So we want to understand ourselves, don't we?
yeah, I've looked into everything. So I used to struggle with alcohol, and that was a massive. I got sober 6 years ago, and that was a game
Well
changer.
done.
So thank you. But that then left like a gap that since I've been trying to fill with other things, it's that constant dopamine seeking.
Yeah, just
And
chasing it.
it was interesting what you said about like people that don't have ADHD will experience the symptoms of the crash and the high with sugar and things. And that's what led us to start the podcast,
Interesting.
because when we found out about the ADHD, basically Donna says it not everything's ADHD. So you can't say, oh, that's ADHD. That's
Yeah, so what is and what isn't?
because some things are just life. So that's what started us, where we were thinking, is that the ADHD, or does everybody do that? So that was where that came from.
Yeah. If you haven't got a neurotypical brain,
Yeah,
then you don't know what it's like
no,
to have a neurotypical brain. You've got no
yeah,
idea. And
mm,
you won't ever know that from your own perspective, will you?
no, mm-mm.
Interesting. Right, so I've got another kind of question for you, because I like
Yeah,
to pre-plan a couple.
yeah.
So what advice would you give to other couples where one partner is diagnosed or recently been diagnosed with ADHD, and potentially the other one is neurotypical? What advice would you give to them?
That's a good one. I think the biggest bit of advice is communication. I
Yeah,
think since we learned about it, we talk a lot more. We because there's like a there's a reason for some stuff. So it means that Donna can be a bit more patient sometimes, to an extent, and I also understand myself better. So I can communicate things better within the relationship, but also research. I think that has helped us so much from both sides, because I've done a lot of research into myself, and Donna's done a lot of research into ADHD and what can be symptoms and what. So therefore, she's been a lot more patient. I think patience is a massive thing. So definitely communication and researching what it is, so that you're not just blowing up all the time and having fights or
yeah.
arguments or
So it's that curiosity, isn't it? And
yeah,
even that research comes with, it's got to come with certain boundaries though, hasn't it? Because otherwise you're going to end up down a big rabbit hole, or
yeah,
potentially it is and potentially it isn't. So it still has to have some safety guidelines with it, doesn't it?
yeah, definitely. I think that's a risk of. I know for me personally, when the ADHD thing was mentioned, that then became my hyper focus. That was it. That was
Yeah.
all I was concentrating on for, as I say, still to an extent just now. It's you can't go too far with it with the research and everything. So yeah, you've got to be careful.
Yeah. Just come at it from a safe place of
Yeah.
curiosity and know what your intentions are for doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's to understand yourself better. So I like that. So any other couples listening to this, or anybody who's got relationships maybe with children or parents or work colleagues, or it's that communication
Yeah.
is
Mm-hmm.
is the key of it, isn't it? To understand the communication side of it.
Uh-huh. I've learned now, if something is getting overwhelming, I hate all the words. I hate all the like buzzwords and
I was
like
just going to say, do
overwhelming.
they
And
sound like buzz phrases?
yeah, I don't like it. It doesn't sit nice. But but I'm able to now see I'm getting a bit overwhelmed here, and I wouldn't use those words, but I would be able to say to Donna, right, I've had enough, and she would understand. The same way as if I'm struggling to with emotions or regulating more emotions, then Donna can say to me, look, just think about what you're doing, look look at how you're handling this.
But
So
emotional
it's good.
regulation is a really big thing.
Yeah,
And part of that is also identifying the emotion, because sometimes it's difficult to know what the emotion is. You just know that you're feeling something
yeah.
and it's all a bit too much.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so just kind of out of interest, with emotional regulation and just thinking about being able to regulate yourself emotionally, is there any kind of resources, kind of that toolkit that, what are your go-to things to help yourself?
This is interesting because my first answer is always breathing. I've looked a lot into breath work and like block breathing And if you can just pause for a minute, if you feel yourself getting like angry or sad or frustrated, but just breathe, just take a minute and breathe. But this is why it's interesting, because when you're in that moment, it's all right me saying this now, but if tomorrow I'm in a bad mood, then I'm not going to be telling myself to just breathe. It becomes very difficult. So the main thing is the breathing, but trying to get yourself in the position where you can just take a
I
minute and
think
breathe.
I think with any resource like that, so mine's mindfulness. Mine's literally
Yeah,
focusing on the present moment in time, listening to that ticking clock or watching the leaves on the tree, you know, whatever it be. Because a big part of my depression was disassociation.
uh-huh.
So to cope, I would disassociate. I wouldn't necessarily feel anything, but I would still be going through the motions of trying to get through a day.
Yeah,
So for me, being in the present moment in time was the scariest thing. So,
of course.
and it is difficult to remember that you've got something that can help you in a moment of heightened either anxiety or emotion that you're not necessarily sure how to identify or label. But it
Yeah.
can become a habit. It can become a
Hmm.
built-in habit. Even with ADHD, it can become a built-in resource that go to, and you have to kind of almost make yourself go there.
Yeah. Hmm.
So it's a
Hmm.
choice, isn't it? But it's remembering that you've got that choice.
Yeah, this is it. And that takes work. I'm not there yet, but would like to think that I'm heading the right way. I now do it more than I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's things there that you can do to help yourself if you can kind of just remember that they're there and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
I used to have a song that I played because I found that was
Uh-huh.
the easiest thing. So years ago when my children were young, if I was feeling like really badly depressed and that I
Yeah.
wasn't really coping that well, I would play a certain song and they'd all come and give me a hug.
I love that. That's
You know,
lovely.
so it's almost like a
Hmm.
white flag or
Yeah.
something, just like, hey, because often I couldn't verbalize it. So for anybody listening that's finding it difficult, overwhelming, you know,
Yeah.
buzzword or not,
Yeah.
is finding it difficult or doesn't quite know how to emotionally regulate, find something that's like a signal. Find people, whoever it be, that can listen or support you and use it as a signal. So whether it be that you just have to stop and whoever you're with, be it your partner or somebody else, knows to give you that space and time,
Yeah.
or whether you play a song or whether you have to just
That's a
say,
great
hey,
idea.
help, help, you know,
Yeah.
whatever it
Hmm.
is going to be
Hmm.
the thing that works. There's no right
Yeah.
or wrong to any of this, is there?
No, absolutely not. No, that's a great idea. I like that.
Yeah, and there's no judgment for any of this either. Uh,
No,
you know, we're all just trying to do our best and cope, aren't we?
this is it. Yeah.
I know. Um, so looking ahead, what are your hopes and plans for ADHD or life? So you do ADHD or life pod,
Yes.
yeah. So what are your hopes and plans for it? What's gonna be coming next?
So at the minute, we're just really enjoying doing it. I think it's a bit like couples counselling every 2 weeks. We get to sit down and just talk to each other, and it's great. And the main thing we want is for it to be relatable. I want people to be real life. So like with all the buzzwords and everything, and you don't get people just talking about how it actually is. And I'm really enjoying that just now, where we just sit down every couple of weeks, tell it like it is. We want to, I would love to expand it a bit to uh, like reach a bigger audience, really. I would love
Yeah.
that to happen. And just keep going the way we're going, and we're enjoying it. And I think that's the main thing at the minute.
The thing with buzzwords is they're good for identification,
Yeah,
you know, of something,
yeah,
and they do to a certain extent help people communicate, but also sometimes they need explaining.
yeah,
So, you know, I do feel that like I'd be interested that if there are any buzzwords around being neurotypical or around being, you know, having ADHD, that they were kind of explained or highlighted,
yeah.
because the
Mm.
amount of times I'm looking things up, you know,
This is it.
and then you wonder whether or not you're being led to the right information.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Actually, we we concentrate a lot on like the stigma surrounding it as well. So when you're talking buzzwords, what came into my head was the superpower. What people call it a superpower. We had a whole episode on that because it's just the way that people say some stuff, and as you say, there's buzzwords that could be better explained.
I think the thing about superpower, the way I see it, is it's either people, by neurotypical, it just means that, you know, you're not neurospicy, you don't have
There's another one.
you don't have ADHD, yeah, neurospicy.
Yeah.
Um, and again, I've forgotten where I was going with
Yeah.
that. So who knows? Well, bit of transparency here for you. My son has autism. So my
Right.
son is now 23 years old. He was diagnosed severely autistic when he was preschool.
Right.
And I've been on a real deep road with him, you know, over
Uh-huh.
the years.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it's to do with communication. And so I understand, you know, and autism's a neurodiverse condition as
Yeah.
well. So I understand things from an autistic perspective of having a child with it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and seeing
Mm-hmm.
the challenges with that. And again, some of it is kind of can be dated as such. So I say my son's 23. I'm in my 50s, so I'm 55. You know, I'm a 1970s baby. So a certain generation back in the day, when I used to say, "Oh, my son's been diagnosed with autism," they would say, "Oh, is he like Rain Man?" Because there was a movie
Yeah.
called Rain Man. I think it featured Dustin Hoffman
Uh-huh.
um, as somebody, and I'm like, no, I don't think so.
No.
So it's kind of made me look into it, and actually, that was based on a real person, but
Right.
it's more to do with being a savant. So there's a type of autism that's savant autism, and it's where they are either incredibly focused and very very good at mathematics,
Yeah.
or they're very very good at language, but all the other symptoms of autism are there, you know, so they might be incontinent or they might not be able to cope without a carer, yet they can solve very complex maths things. I'm like, no, that's not my son.
Yeah.
You know, there's a whole different type of autism going on with him.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of interesting to me that it was sort of, you know, is he like Roman? So do you ever get, I mean, I can't think of any films that specifically feature ADHD, but does anybody ever bring up a celebrity or something else and say, oh, is it like that? Because they're trying to relate, they're trying to understand.
So I've not had that where it's like someone or a film or anything. What I do get a lot is that everybody is a bit ADHD. So
Right.
every
I get
people say
everybody's a bit
that, yeah,
autistic.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's a bit, don't like that. um, because yeah, it's everybody's got certain traits and things, which is just
Yeah,
personality.
I have. I
Yeah.
don't actually think I have ADHD. I think
Hmm.
I'd like to think it was more obvious. If I did, I don't know. But I do. I kind of spin things, and you know, I'm always fidgeting around. I have trouble sitting still. But there could be a lot of other reasons for that as well.
Yeah.
Um, you
I
know,
think. Sorry, on you go.
that's okay. That's okay, because who knows what either of us were going to talk about. Um, but it's just, I think that sometimes it's said out of people just trying to relate.
It
Because as
definitely.
human beings, we like to think that we are very um, empathic. You know, we've got a lot of empathy.
Yeah.
Um, However, we rely a lot on stories, you know, and on stories and on, you know, things, we link things. It all comes down to communication again and language, however that's used. And we like to find things that are relatable. We all want to be very, very different, but we like things that are the same as us,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
because we're complex little creatures, aren't we?
We are
So I
indeed.
actually think that a lot of the time it's just said because people are trying to relate, they're trying to find something to to empathize with,
Yeah.
and that's not necessarily wrong. And I think that it's just one of those standard things that people say, even if it's slightly irritating.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
because I get it a lot, you know, oh, we're all a bit autistic, and I'm like, maybe, I don't know.
Hmm.
I mean, you know, apparently if you've kind of got a questionnaire, you know, if everybody can tick at least a few of the things on there,
Yeah.
um because we're going to
And
have a commonality from being human, aren't we?
this is it. Yeah.
So
And
I
some
think
of it is personality traits, isn't it?
yeah, of
Whereas
course.
there's the other side of it that people don't see. There's the side where because of ADHD, you've become paralyzed to an extent where you can't do anything for days on
Yeah.
end. And I've been through that. That's when the doctor thought it was depression and just put me on tablets. But looking back, it was probably due to ADHD, where it was just burnout, or it could
Do
last for
you want
days.
another one for that? Because I know
Yeah,
you're going to love these buzzwords now.
go on.
Analysis
And
paralysis.
I actually quite like that one.
Yeah.
I like that one, but yeah, that can stop me doing stuff for days on end. And so people they think ADHD and they see somebody jumping about, but really it can be quite debilitating. And I just don't think that side's spoke about enough, really.
Yeah. Hence ADHD or
Yeah,
Life
there you go.
Pod.
Yeah.
Right, so
Yep.
thank you, Adam.
No,
Thank you
thank
for
you.
sharing your honest perspectives as well, and your openness. Your insights are really going to make a difference. I'd love to talk to Donna as well in the
Yeah.
future.
She's much better at the talking side of things.
Well, we've all got things that we're good at, haven't we?
Yeah.
So doesn't mean that you're not going to get good at the talking side of it, but
No, that's it.
we've all got qualities. So for those of you interested in learning more about Adam and Donna and what they get up to, you can visit www.adhdorlife.com. Okay. On Instagram, it's ADHD or Life Pod. I was going to stick some extra D's in there, but
Yeah.
it's ADHD or Life Pod. And you're on YouTube as well
Yeah.
as ADHD or Life Pod.
Yeah.
Now I'm a YouTube creator, so creator on YouTube, so I love YouTube.
Yeah, that's good.
So by all means, go and find Adam, go and find Donna, give them a follow, and we'll see what happens next. I would love to speak to you again about having Donna on my podcast, and
Yeah, definitely.
maybe talking to you both together as well. That'd be a new experience for me.
Yeah.
So and we can follow each other's journeys as well.
Definitely, yeah. Oh, it's been lovely. I've really enjoyed
Oh,
it.
thank you. So if for anybody listening, if you're interested in more content like this, be sure to visit www.melancholymentor.com. That's me. Follow us for the latest updates. Until next time, stay curious, keep igniting your creative potential, and go and find ADHD or Life Pod.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Thank you for joining me on the Melancholy Coaching Podcast. I'd love you to subscribe. For queries or to connect, email info@melancholymentor.com. Until next time, keep igniting your creative potential.